Hello, hello, hello. How you doing? How you doing? How you doing? Another day, another installment of what the fuck is going on in my country. Today's some good news though. Today is some good news though. Today we saw some ripples of the Epstein files actually put men in handcuffs, investigating charge men that were involved with this. So here we are, gonna go over exactly what happened today, and it's kind of a big deal. I think it's the first domino in many that are going to come out and or fall down because of this Epstein. Because like I've said it before, there is a national campaign, or international law enforcement officers are looking into the Epstein crimes, and they're not gonna just sit on their hands like the DOJ. They are going to be charging people, and the first one that has been charged so far, no, he's not the first one. We got the Brazilian airline pilot arrested in Brazil. The Swedish prince is also arrested, but he was arrested. He was already facing rape charges, and now we have Prince Andrew. I think Prince Andrew is the highest profile arrest that we have so far regarding the Epstein files. So.
London, Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, the former Prince Andrew, has been arrested.
Well, it offers a great contrast, I think. Look what the British government is doing in light of the evidence, and look what the United States government's doing. Nothing.
On the latest chapter of the Epstein saga, a scandal decades in the making, it appears, well, outside the United States, that real consequences are materializing.
Presumably in connection with his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein.
Police here in the UK put out a statement. They haven't named him specifically, but they are saying a man in his 60s has been arrested. As part of the investigation, they say we have today arrested a man in his 60s from Norfolk on suspicion of misconduct in public office.
President Trump was asked about Andrew this morning in London.
I don't know Prince Andrew, but it's a tough story. It's a very tough story.
It's a tough story, and I don't know the man, bro. Like, how do people just accept his lies? Like, after like the 50,000th lie, like, how are just people like, oh yeah, you know? He says he never known him. He says it's a tough story, bro. Yeah, you know why it's a tough story? Because one of his buddies is getting caught for fucking partying with his friends. Like, that sucks, bro.
No.
President Trump has been photographed with Prince Andrew as far back as the year 2000. He is seen here alongside the Prince and First Lady at his Mar-a-Lago estate. Epstein was also at that.
This week, former Prince Andrew was arrested in the United Kingdom on suspicion of misconduct in public office tied to his association with Epstein over sharing privileged government information with the convicted trafficker while he was a UK trade envoy. Now, we'll await more details before speculating what the arrest is in full reference to, but it does appear that law enforcement action flows from evidence in the Epstein files. And this follows on from news out of Norway that their former prime minister was charged with, quote, aggravated corruption after a police probe into his alleged ties to the late sex offender.
Les nouvelles révélations dans l'affaire Epstein continuent d'avoir des répercussions en Europe. Ce jeudi, la police norvégienne a perquisitionné les propriétés de l'ancien Premier ministre Thorbjørn Jagland.
It was confirmed to CNN that he was, quote, charged with aggravated corruption before the law firm representing the former PM added that they deny all charges. And this isn't just isolated to royalty or former prime ministers, but the private sector also. We noticed last week that Goldman Sachs' chief legal officer resigned after emails revealed a long time and continued relationship with Epstein after his conviction in 2008. So what we're seeing at the moment anyway is
chief legal officer for Goldman Sachs? That's pretty fucking huge, bro. Like, what do you, they just resigned because they were giving legal advice to a sex predator, to a child abuser? I mean, that's what's supposed to happen, right? Like, that's what we're supposed to be doing, right? Like, why aren't, why is the UK doing that shit and not us? Huh?
Momentum of accountability that matters, right? For years, Epstein and his circle operated with shocking impunity, shielded by powerful defenders and political leverage. The fact that some consequences seem to be materializing, albeit nowhere near enough, as we can all agree, it signals that, at the very least, once hidden records are forcing institutions to confront uncomfortable realities. But then that poses a question, right? What about what the Trump administration are doing and how they're handling questions regarding those very same files?
We keep hearing our press secretary and our Department of Justice and other government officials saying they're moving on from this. I wish that we could. I met Epstein and Maxwell when I was 21 years old. I'm nearly 53 now. We cannot move on as survivors of this crime and as citizens of this nation without changing this narrative. So I ask you all to stand behind us and demand accountability for our government, because we certainly are going to.
Well, after Congress passed the Epstein files transparency.
Don't let them gaslight you. Don't let them say, oh my God, this again. Don't let them shame you into bringing it up at the dinner table or anything like that. Fuck that shit. Like, that's what they want you to do. They want you to stop talking about it. They want you to move on. They want to turn the page, enter a new news cycle. That's why we're going to war with Iran. No, I'm just kidding. We're going to war with Iran just because he's fucking Netanyahu's bitch. But, no, we're, not only is he guilty, I'm convinced that he's guilty of, you know, paying to have sex with underage women and paying to do terrible things to women and girls. That's what I'm convinced on. But at the very least, even if you try to say that he wasn't involved with underage trafficking, if he didn't pay for underage hookers or underage girls, he is covering up for the ones who have. Okay? So at the very least, he's guilty of covering up these crimes. And if we can't agree on that at the very least, then like, Bubba, I don't want to know you. Like, I'm sorry. Like, yo, that's not cool. It's like, we have all this evidence, all this proof. There's videos, there's fucking photos, there's descriptions of photos, there's the testimony from multiple witnesses or victims. Oh my God, there's a guy who said he was gonna come and he went into an FBI office and was like, I got the dirt on Epstein. And then after he left, all of a sudden he was found having unalived himself. So like, this conspiracy is definitely deeper than the Hillary Clinton killed all of the people who Bill Clinton fucked is definitely bigger than that. And they want us to move on. Because this can literally... I think this is it. I think this is what will sink his campaign. Or sink his presidency. I think we get a fucking impeachment. Alright? And I hope it doesn't take too long. Alright? But at the very least, we can have an impeachment on him breaking the transparency laws, the Epstein transparency law, and protecting these men. Okay? But I think what's going to come out through the impeachment process will be like, oh no, like he is on videotape with young girls and, you know, he's involved in their murder and stuff.
Transparency Act requiring the release of all government Epstein documents, which President Trump signed into law, but the rollout has been terrible to say the least, and it's been criticized as tardy and heavily redacted. Critics have argued that the Department of Justice, helmed by Attorney General Pam Bondi at Trump's direction, has used victim privacy and national security as reasons to just slow the pace and obscure substantive material. Because here's what it looks like, right? While you have legal systems in the United Kingdom moving towards consequences, the US executive branch appears more focused on managing optics and shifting the conversation towards unrelated things.
Want to know your reaction to this news? Out of the UK this morning, the former Prince Andrew arrested.
Well, it offers a great contrast, I think. Look what the British government is doing in light of the evidence, and look what the United States government's doing. Nothing. Our chief law enforcement officer is defending and obstructing the investigation, Pam Bondi. And so it has been Congress in getting subpoenas and then passing bills and fighting to get this information disclosed, and our own executive, President Trump, Pam Bondi, and others are obstructing that effort. So it is refreshing that the British government is coming forward and actually, and the King is actually saying, we need to follow the law here. I wish our government were doing this.
Like the economy or the Dow, rather than highlighting the need for justice.
Why are we not talking about the Dow right now? Why are we calling about the 401ks that are going through the roof, bro? Why? Yeah, because we fucking want people behind bars for abusing kids. Like, is that so much? Like, if anything at all, I want my tax dollars to put child abusers behind jail. You know what I'm saying?
Or victims or transparency in a high-profile criminal network.
I provided the evidence today that shows that his statements were false under oath. Kash Patel's statements were false. They are in possession. They were in possession at the time, and they're still in possession of evidence that other men participated in the sex trafficking.
Attorney General Bondi didn't seem to directly answer that question. What do you make of what she did say?
She didn't answer anything. She came here just ready to talk about the Dow Jones and the NASDAQ, which seems kind of crazy to me.
Was the president aware of Secretary Lutnick's ties to Epstein when he chose him to lead the Department of Commerce? Was he aware?
Chris Malin was a Border Patrol agent.
Okay, so I'm going to conclude that the president, in fact, did know about his ties because he was the next door neighbor.
Shame on you.
Oh, for goodness sakes. This is pathetic. This is pathetic, Mr. Chair. I am not asking trick questions here. The American people have a right to know the answers to this. These are senior officials in the Trump administration. This is not a game, Secretary.
I'm Attorney General.
My apologies, I couldn't tell.
I mean, think about that shocking hearing again where Pam Bondi was asked point blank how many of the victims present at the hearing she'd spoken to or questioned after promising complete transparency and accountability before even coming into her position of power. The answer was none.
Now, would the survivors and victims who are here please stand up one more time? Just by show of hands, how many of you or your loved ones actually have met with the Department of Justice and provided testimony and evidence? None. And of those of you who have not met, which is everyone, how many of you have reached out either individually or through a lawyer or representative to offer to provide testimony and evidence? All of them. And of those of you, all of you who have reached out, how many of you were denied or ignored by the Department of Justice? All of them.
That's crazy.
And despite the shameful and despicable efforts by Ms. Bondi and her department to intimidate you, how many of you are still willing to speak to the Department of Justice? All of them. Well, Ms. Bondi...
Bro, just like on a, like, and I'm not even a woman, but as like on a woman level, like, where you at, Pam Bondi? Like, how do these women just be choosing Donald Trump over the women? Like, I choose women over men fucking on daily. Like, absolutely always. My friend, I went to his graduation and stupid ass thought I brought flowers for him. I was like, no, bro, I saw this really pretty fucking classmate. I was gonna go holler. Are you fucking stupid? Like, I tell my friends, I was like, okay, like, we could go to the bar, just me and you, but just to let you know, if I go talk to a woman and we start kissing, I'm probably not gonna come back to hang out with. Alright, I'm not perfect. But that's just my feeling. Women are just better. And we should fucking empower them and defend them. And fucking listen to them when they have something to say. And these women have something to say. They were the goods. They were trafficked. They were in the room with all of this dastardly shit going on. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 of them are saying the FBI and DOJ never followed up with them, are refusing to meet with them, but are still willing to go and talk to them.
It looks like you have some more witnesses to talk to.
And whenever Trump is asked about it, he attacks the reporters and calls it a Democratic hoax.
Something that people care about. Yeah, what did you say? Go ahead,
what would you say to the survivors?
You are the worst reporter. No wonder CNN has no ratings because of people like you.
See?
You know, she.
Like, that's the go-to. It's like, okay, like, if you don't want to answer the question directly, just attack them. Just attack them. That's the Trump policy, okay?
She's a young woman. I don't think I've ever seen you smile. I've known you for 10 years. I don't think I've ever seen a smile on your face. You know why? You know why you're not smiling? Because you know you're not telling the truth, and you're a very dishonest organization. And
projecting.
Okay, go ahead.
Sexual abuse and health care. And the bill that was just passed does
and then instead of solidarity with her sister, a female reporter, instead of solidarity with her, she's like, let's talk about health care. I'm gonna ask you a question of health care, so you stop answering. What is her name? Oh, not Crystal Ball. Oh, she hasn't been coming up on my feed. Caitlin Collins. I was like, hey, but not Crystal. Caitlin Collins, let's go. Yo, keep her away from me. Trump, bro. Oh, bro, she's so cool. I think I just started following her. Keep her away from Trump. Trump's gonna try to traffic her.
So this is a question for you and maybe for Mr. Speaker as well.
I'm so proud of the healthcare savings accounts because it's going to happen.
A narrative that falls apart considering Bill and Hillary Clinton have agreed to testify later this month after Trump officials like Pam Bondi have tried to "what about Bill" their way around questions as to why Trump is mentioned so much in the files.
Well, we know he was on the plane, not only on the plane a couple times, multiple times. He traveled internationally with Jeffrey Epstein, and he was on the plane called the Lolita Express because it supposedly had a bed in there where Jeffrey Epstein had young girls. He has been a friend of his, a continuing friend of his for years and years. Contrast that with Donald Trump.
And their actions are reflected in the polls. The American people are extremely dissatisfied by the way that the Trump administration has handled the Epstein files. A YouGov poll shows that the majority of Americans disapprove of how Trump has managed the Epstein investigation, with net job approval on this issue running deeply negative. More than half, well above those who approve, say they believe Trump is trying to cover up Epstein's crimes.
A law was passed in Congress to require that all the files that have anything to do with them be released. And what we're seeing, I think it's fair to say, is a continuing cover-up by the Trump administration. In fact, when the Attorney General testified last week,
I don't really care what Hillary has to say about this. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I think, and this is just, I'm being optimistic about it, Bill Clinton paid for some hookers, but see, I think that at some levels it was just paying for hookers. But then you got down to the lower levels where Epstein was at, and there are some powerful people, and that's why Prince Andrew's thing is such a big deal, because she was like 16. She was 16, so I think, like, yeah, sure, there were definitely men who bought prostitutes, but then there's also the men who did it. So I don't know. I mean, the pictures in the video know who did what. I'm leaning on the side. I'm gonna have to just say no. I mean, unless you coming out and straight up saying, yeah, I paid for hookers or something like that, not underage kids or kids, then I'm just gonna assume, like, no, you paid for the dirt. You paid for, like, I want to torture some people. I want to record myself. Like, I have a fantasy. Supposedly there was a flower in the Epstein Island. Yeah, it turns you into a zombie. It's actually a real thing. So, whatever, Hillary.
it was quite a scene because she refused to answer questions. She diverted attention away from the matters at hand. She refused to look at the survivors. So there's something about this administration's attitude toward this, which I think really leads us to conclude they have something to hide. We don't. We have been willing to say whatever we know. We've even done it under oath.
And a Reuters Ipsos poll found that roughly 69% of Americans believe the Epstein files demonstrate that powerful people are rarely held accountable, and a majority think that the federal government is withholding information. And that's a poll that is damning, right? Because these figures illustrate not just partisan dissatisfaction, but they actually cut across independents and even portions of the Republican voter base. In other words, this is not a fringe view. It is a broad public discontent with the delayed transparency and uncertainty about any accountability, and the merited skepticism that the most powerful actors are being treated differently than everyone else.
Donald Trump's name is all over these files. All over it. I mean, thousands and thousands of times. If you spend any real time with these files, you will see references to 17-year-old girls, 16-year-old girls, 14-year-old girls, 11-year-old girls, 10-year-old girls, and I saw a reference today to a 9-year-old girl. So it is a really gruesome and grim story. And I think in order to see our way through this and to try to make progress on criminal investigation and prosecution and some kind of social redemption from this whole nightmare, we need to listen to the survivor.
Love this. The Trump organization promised to release those files. There's a law forcing them to release those files, and they still are not releasing those files. Now, if I said I was going to do something, and then I got a written official policy that I had to do something, and I still didn't do that thing, I would get in trouble.